the video arcade, the progenitor of all that we gamers hold dear. Classic cabinets full of fun, nostalgia, and artistic design that still hold such value to us that we continue to bring them into the home in various forms. Full-size multi-cabs, 3/4 scale arcade 1-up units, quarter-scale machines from Numbskull, even Hallmark ornaments. It's this spark that I'm trying to capture with my wall art projects. While I've previously made a similar version of this project, you'll see that by the end I end up with a very improved result. This is Arcade-Inspired Poster Frames 2.0. As a refresher, this whole project started when I wanted to design my own posters for my game room based on some of my favorite arcade games. One poster layout I designed that I was particularly happy with incorporated the original arcade marquee and bezel art along with a screenshot I captured myself. The key points of how to edit and print a poster like this are covered in a previous video. I was so pleased with myself for creating such a stunning composition, but then I discovered that wall art of a similar design already exists for purchase. For instance, on Amazon you can buy these metallic 10 signs of nearly the same design. They have many games to choose from, though I'm very sure they're unlicensed if that matters to you. They're pretty inexpensive, but they are on the small side at only around 8 by 12 inches. They have some that are just marquee art and even some cover art. If you aren't into DIY at all, these may be a good pick, but let's get back to my posters. After designing and having them printed, my next intention was to put them in cool and unique poster frames. I covered this in a tutorial video as well. While explaining a hypothetical ideal frame, I mentioned that I'd prefer them to be around 2 or 3 inches deep to really help sell the illusion. Maybe in the future I could try adapting a shadow box instead of a frame. Well, it's the future now, buddy, so let's get to it. My hobby shop only had 2 shadow boxes that matched my poster size of 16 by 20 inches. Of the 2, one was a little less deep, but it also had the more sleek look that I wanted, so that's the one I chose. I have to make some convenience modifications to the shadow box itself. Its backing is held in place by these little metal tabs. You have to fold them up to free the back and bend them back down to secure it. The problem is they break when bent more than once or twice. A lot of this video will be experimentation, and I'll be in and out of this shadow box many times, so these tabs will have to go. A few had already broken off, but I've pulled the rest out myself. Now I'll add these turn buttons as a replacement, a much better choice for quick and repeatable access. With that mod done, prepping the shadow box starts the same as the previous poster frame project, so I won't rehash every step here. I welcome you to watch the original video. Whenever there is a difference, I'll describe it. To resemble the color of the original Donkey Kong cabinet, I picked this blue cotton color paint. It's a very pale blue, and while this shot makes it look white, you can tell it's blue in person and in other footage. And as before, I did 2 coat and drying cycles. Unlike the poster frames, there's more surface area on the sides of the shadow box. Because of this, I had every intention of doing some light sanding on the sides so that the paint had a better surface to adhere to, but I got excited to get started and forgot to do so. I still don't think it'll be a big issue, but take heed. Another difference with this shadow box is that the upright sides are slightly less than 3/4 inches across. This means the tape I'm using to represent T-molding is a bit too wide. You can trim it down to size, but my solution was to simply fold the excess over the inside edges. This left the top and bottom out of alignment, so later I decided to trim them for a straighter look. But this was done midway through filming, so please overlook this break in continuity. Even though they are very similar items, a shadow box isn't meant to be a poster frame. The shadow box is made to display items with dimension and wasn't necessarily built to accommodate flat artwork, even though it was made at a standard poster size. Actually, the inner dimensions are slightly reduced because there's a second frame nested inside the outer frame that holds the glass to the front, so when I lay in the poster, it's kept to the back of the box away from the glass. The backboard of this box has a layer of foam covered by a layer of black fabric that is intended for you to be able to pin up whatever keepsakes you wish to show off. After pulling these pins out, it should hold my poster in place well enough. And here's how this looks. It's pretty nice and approximately matches my hypothetical example from before, but I feel like we should try both options. Let's instead see how it looks with the poster up against the glass instead of resting at the back. There's no way to get the poster under the inner frame in one piece, so I'll have to momentarily remove that inner frame. Luckily, it's just held in place with pieces of double-stick foam tape, which I can easily slice through with a blade through the gap. With that out of the way, I can carefully drop the poster all the way down to the front. I can now put that frame back in to hold the glass and the poster in position. I should remount the inner frame with more double-sided tape when I'm done, but for the moment my backing will hold it all in place without issue. And here's what that looks like. I love the overall composition, and the whole thing displays so attractively. I'm very excited to have this up on my wall. Either display style works great, but I think we can do more. Since I'm using a shadow box instead of a poster frame, I have a whole extra dimension to play with, so why not take advantage of that in some way? The more I think about it, the more I think we can elevate this even further. Check this out. Imagine this. What if I took my poster and cut out the screen area? And what if I had that sit at the back of the box while the bezel art stays at the front? Easy 3D wall art. How would that look? Well, no way to truly know until we try it. I really like my poster and hate the idea of mutilating it, but it's for the greater good. So now it's time to operate. I've prepped my cutting mat and X-Acto blades, and I'm using a straight edge to help cut even lines for as much of it as I can, but then I'm doing the detail work free-handed. I'm not very practiced at this, so I'm trying to work with care. Okay, now to pop out the screen. Not every cut went all the way through, and I really don't want to tear the poster now, so I'm being extra careful. Okay, got it. Now I can put the bezel art back up against the front glass. It'll hold up fine for now, but I'm always preparing for the future. I'm afraid that without support and with that newly cut opening, over time the poster might sag out of place or the cut edges may curl away from the glass. I wouldn't want that. In a perfect world, instead of a poster, I would have the art applied to the glass with whatever method is used on real arcade bezels. Of course, that's something I can't accomplish on my own, and I try to keep most of my projects simple and easy to replicate. Perhaps there is a way to adhere the poster to the underside of the glass in some way that would give a clean and clear image? Mod Podge maybe? I'm really unsure. Ultimately, I picked the simplest method I could think of to ensure the poster remains flat and supported. I simply bought a second piece of 16 by 20 glass. I sandwiched the poster between the panes, and now I'm certain it can't go anywhere. This offsets the inner frame by a couple of millimeters, but there's plenty of leeway, especially with my new turn buttons on the back. Now I'll mount the screen on the backing. I would pin it in place, but I want to ensure it lays as flat as possible and the pins would be visible. I could remove the cloth and foam to get to a flat mounting surface, but I think I may need them later on, so for now I have a backup plan. A friend had a scrap piece of masonite and I asked him to cut me a piece to the right size. It fits just perfectly, so for the moment I'll use this. I'm just going to lightly tape the screen in place. As I mentioned, I'm doing this as an experiment. I don't want to make any of the next alterations permanent until I've tried everything first. But if this was the last step, I'd paint the inside surface matte black and I'd probably use spray adhesive to mount the game screen to the backing. So let's take a look at my newly improved arcade shadow box. I know you get the gist of it in the 2D video you're watching, but it looks so good in the real 3D world. This makes for a very attractive point of interest in my game room. I was so pleased with myself for creating such a stunning composition, but then I discovered that wall art of a similar design already exists for purchase. If DIY just isn't for you, I found these very high-end shadow boxes, some of which share the same design choices as mine. They have a few for arcade games and also many console game-inspired pieces and others. You won't find every game as these are all officially licensed. They even have small desktop art versions. And on Etsy, there are a lot of different choices for handcrafted 3D wall art. There are always neat displays and cool ideas to see. And if you just want 3D video game wall art of any kind, I can personally recommend the Pixel Frames line of products. No arcade games here, but what you'll find is well-made, fully licensed, and pretty affordable. I'll have Amazon links if you want to know more. But I'm still in love with what I've made. And as cool as it looks now, it has a secret. When you weren't looking, I lined the inside with an LED strip, so it has a lighting feature too. This strip has several lighting modes, including steady on, but this flashing mode does a lot to bring life to the wall art. This makes me so incredibly happy, but this was only the first trial. I have 2 others. I went to the copy store and printed my screenshot on both sides of a piece of regular paper with the back image mirrored. Letter paper is just a little smaller than the screen image that I cut out of the poster, but not by much. Remember my tracing tablet? It's a flat LED panel that gives off nice, uniform, even lighting, and it's just a bit bigger around than a piece of paper. I'll affix my printed screenshot to it and make a quick and dirty mat from construction paper to block the light from the overscan area. Again, this is in no way meant to be permanent, just a fast test. I've mounted that to the backing with some double-sided foam tape and put it all back together. Let's see how that looks. In this configuration, the screenshot is made much more prominent when lit. It looks really nice and clean and really becomes the focal point. My slop job of matting makes it look a little janky, but it still reminds of an arcade cabinet. Okay, I have one more test to try. For this one, I can switch back to the original backing that came with the shadow box. I also had a 16x20 fabric print of my screenshot made. Since I had so much more room to work with, I actually scaled up the screenshot just a bit. On the original poster, I wanted the screen to take up as much room in the bezel window as possible, but I didn't want very much of it to be cut off. But as two separate pieces, this is less of a worry. Anything that would have been cut off before is still there and can now be seen depending on your viewing angle. I'll just pin this in place and put it back together. Off camera, I pulled the fabric even tauter and used a few more pins to hold it firm. And here is how this one looks. And as most of you have probably guessed, this configuration holds a secret too. When you weren't looking, I lined the inside with another LED strip, this time Blacklight LEDs. This screenshot was printed with ultraviolet reactive ink, so the Blacklight makes it really pop. Just about the only thing that could have made it cooler was if the ink was invisible in normal light. Imagine the screen coming to life only when you turn on the Blacklight. So I've shown you 3 different lighting enhancements to my shadow box. Please tell me your favorite in the comments. Did you like the standard LEDs? Or did you prefer the backlighting of the tracing tablet? Or maybe the UV LEDs were your favorite? I'd love to know your thoughts because although this video is done, my work isn't. I still have a Donkey Kong Jr. 3D shadow box to make. This project has been a culmination of several project videos before it. Thank you for accompanying me on this journey. I hope you found new knowledge and motivation to try your own game room enhancements. May your game room ideas become game room realities.